Hey guys, in this video you're going to learn about functions in JavaScript. But before I begin, please like and comment on the video and please sub to the channel, alright? I'd really much appreciate that. Okay, let's get started. So we have functions in JavaScript, right? I'm going to go over like a demo of how they work, right? We're also going to talk about local and global precedence when it comes to variables and functions. Then we're also going to talk about inner functions, right? Which is a thing supported in Python and JavaScript. And I'm also going to talk about function hoisting, alright? So let's get started. So what is a function? A function is basically a block of code that you wrap in a function that executes whenever you invoke it, right? So an example could be like add one to a number. So I can call that function add one, and it takes an input, right? And then it adds one to that input. So it's like exactly like a machine. It takes an input and returns an output, all right? So there we go. So now let's get started. So let me just show you how they look like. So the add one function, it'll look like this. And I'll just say return x plus one. So if you look at this, there's a function keyword that's in blue, right? And then after that, you give the name of the function, and then you give the input, and then you're gonna do return, and then output the plus one answer. So let's just say console.log add 1 to 7. And now let's see the result. It'll be 8. Okay, so there we go. Right, so that's a basic demo of how they work. All right, now let's talk about the local and global precedence when it comes to variables and functions, right? So the idea behind this is that when you have variables of the same name and you're using them in a function, you have to understand the precedence that is there, right? So let me give an example. So if I say var x is like 10 here, right? And then I say add 1, well, what's going to happen, right? And in fact, let's not take a parameter in this one. So now let's say console.log. And now it's going to take it's going to output 11 because we're using the global var x equals 10 here. Now, what happens, let's just say for giggles, if I said var x equals 5, right? So what do you think the answer will be? Before I hit run, think about what the answer will be. Will it still be 11 or will it be some other value? All right, so hopefully you got the answer. So let's run. And it's going to be 6. So that's the idea of precedence, is that the variables declared inside the function are going to be used first in the function rather than the global value. So the global value, if it's present, great. But if there's another inner function, inner variable with the same name, then it's going to be used first. So that's that. Okay, and to prove I'm not lying to you, I can make this 6, 7, and it'll be 8. All right, so that's something you want to keep in mind, right? And then another thing is functions declared, or variables declared inside a function only are visible inside that function. So if I say var y equals 9, and then I say console.log y, it's going to say y is not defined because y is not defined outside of the function, it's defined inside of the function. All right, so that's that. And I think we can cap the 1.2 segment here, right? So that is the idea with local and global precedence, is that the local variables have higher precedence over the global variables. All right, so now let's talk about inner functions. So I'm just going to do 1.1 and 1.2. All right, now let's talk about the inner functions. All right, so inner functions, the way they work is similar to Python, is you can define a function inside another function, and analogous to variables, they'll only be available inside of the wrapper function, right? So if I have an inner function, I can't use it globally. So let me give an example. Let's say we have a function that tests if it's a Pythagorean triplet, right? So that Python is Pythagorean triplet. And then also have A, B, C. And then we'll have another function here that says that checks the square root. So is square root an int? Or we can just say is square root. Yeah, you know what? We'll do like a square function. So function square, and then we'll take a, or we'll take like any variable x. And then what I'll do is I'll just say return x times x. So now here I can say return square of a plus square of b equals square of c. And then now I can invoke the function. So I can say is Pythagorean triplet, and I'll do an obvious one, 3, 4, 5. So let's see the output. So it's true because 25, the square root of 5 is equal to 16 plus 9, the square root of 4 and 3. So let's do one where it's not valid. Let's do 3, 4, 9. And I'm getting false because that is not a Pythagorean triplet. So that's the whole idea, is that I can define an inner function and then I can just say square a plus square b equals square c, right? Where basically I can use the inner function in the wrapper function, which is Pythagorean triplet. Okay, awesome. So that's that, all right? And now let's talk about the hoisting, right? So what is hoisting? So in JavaScript, basically, there is this notion of order in the sense that you have to make sure that the variable or thing you're using is declared before you use it, right? So if I say x equals 10 and then I declare it later, that might be cause an issue. But with functions, actually something very important happens. When you run JavaScript files, the functions are automatically hoisted to the top so that you can use them earlier in the code. So for instance, had I moved line 25 to up here, watch what happens. It'll actually still run because when I hit run, the JavaScript interpreter is actually putting the Pythagorean triplet to the top. So that's the cool thing with JavaScript, is a lot of the times you don't need to worry about the order because it automatically hoists things for you. And functions are one of those things. Okay, so I think that's it for this video. All right, I have much more to come, so I can't wait to see you then. All right, bye.